wanted to talk a little bit, again, using the NHS website as a foundation. So I'm not saying anything that's out of turn or incorrect because, as I said, I'm not a professional or a qualified person or a doctor or a psychologist, but I've lived with this for a long time and I have a fairly good understanding of how it affects me. Not everybody, but me. Again, looking at the NHS website, you can find this by going to NHS and typing in Tourette's, or go to Google, type in NHS Tourette's, and it will pop up. Diagnosing Tourette syndrome. The NHS say there's no single test for Tourette syndrome. You can be diagnosed with Tourette syndrome if you've had several tics for at least a year. Getting a firm diagnosis can help you and others understand your condition better and give you access to the right kind of treatment and support. To get a diagnosis, a GP may refer you to a specialist, such as a neurologist, which is a brain and nervous system person, checks your brain. Again, what they tend to do with these things is they're really trying to do like an MRI scan and rule out any other conditions, really serious, like, I don't know, whatever things that make your brain break. Treating Tourette syndrome. There's no cure for Tourette syndrome, and most children with tics do not need treatment for them. Let me stop it. Go over there if you must go somewhere. Treatments may sometimes be recommended to help you control your tics. Treatment is usually available on the NHS and can involve behaviour therapy and medicine. The behaviour therapy, I'll read through this and then I'll give you an idea of some of my thinking on it. Behaviour therapy is usually provided by a psychologist or a specialist trained therapy. The two types of behavioural therapy that have been shown to reduce tics, not to solve them, just to reduce them, are habit reversal training. This approach involves working out the feeling that triggers a tic. The next stage is to find an alternative, less noticeable way of relieving the urge to tic. Exposure and response prevention. This is ERP. It's becoming quite common now. This method trains you to better control your urge to tic. Techniques are used to recreate the urge to tic, to train you to tolerate the feeling without doing the tic until the urge passes. Basically, what causes the tics and the habits is a feeling of, for me, it's people watching. I'm self-conscious. I feel under pressure. I'm more likely to do it in a room where people are watching me, or I'm more likely to have tics if I sit in the front row of something than the back row where no one can see me, or if I'm in a restaurant, I want to sit in the corner next to the window looking at everybody rather than where people can see me. Because that alleviates the pressure. I'm not so conscious of people watching me, and I think we all have this to an extent. I think if I asked you if I asked you to hold this cup out on your hand there, and I said just hold that there, don't drop it, whatever you do, hold it for 10 seconds. You would probably find that quite easy to do. Even I can do that. But to demonstrate that I think these tics and things can affect other people, and also to explain it so that it's understandable to a neurotypical person, which is a normal person. You're not allowed to say normal because people say what is normal and it's just annoying. If I then asked you to hold this glass out and I told you and you believed me that it was worth £1 million and you were in an auditorium and there was 10,000 people watching you, and you must not drop it, otherwise all the snipers on the roof will shoot you in the head. That's extreme, obviously, but you will find that the pressure is, you'll be shaking, the pressure is immense. And I think it's that feeling for people with the Tourette's, tics, that really gets at them. It's if you're being watched, you're so much more nervous, and we all know this because we can all talk to our friends, but if we have to go on a stage and talk to 1,000 people, that's got to be terrifying. Well, that's the only way I can really explain it. But it's so much more sensitive in somebody who's actually got Tourette syndrome. They've got this huge pressure, and they know they shouldn't, so they want to, so they must. And then they've got this urge inside, which is not helping because it's kind of really, really powerfully driven. And I explained in my other video about touching the electrical socket twice. That's really when you know it's not. There's something quite strong driving you to do something as stupid as that. And actually something that's not even sensible or safe. So as far as the behavioural therapy, what they're trying to do is they're trying to reduce the anxiety. So say you were going to go on stage and talk to 1,000 people, 10,000 people, if you were to bring this into a normal person's sort of psyche understanding, you would therefore get the typical person to stand in front of 10 people, then 100 people, then 1,000 people. So what they're doing with behavioural therapy here is they're saying, okay, when you go to the shop or to a public place, you start having convulsions, not convulsions, tics, swearing, and doing these different things, and it's causing you anxiety and pressure. You can't stop yourself doing it. So they're trying to simulate in your head. They're saying, look, pretend you've gone to a shop, pretend there's people around you, and try and learn to control it. And it's that's why it is called exposure with response prevention. It's kind of role play, simulation, and a fairly cognitively normal way to try to teach and encourage someone to cope with something that's tricky. They do it for all sorts of things. People who are scared of snakes, you've seen these programs, can't stand a snake, so the first thing they do is they get you to hold a picture of a snake and then to watch a video of a snake, further down the line to be in the same room with a snake that's in a tank. Later on, the person's handling the snake. It's very, very small steps. As far as medicine goes, and I've had a bit of experience with medicine, some people's tics are helped with medicine. This is usually only recommended with tics that are more severe and affecting daily activities. Medicine for Tourette syndrome can have side effects and they will not work for everyone. Now, I have taken medicines for these things, and they will quite often prescribe you, I could give you a list, I've tried several. They are really, really bad. Well, no, I can't say bad, it's been judgmental on my opinion of how it affected me. The medicine sometimes isn't worth, the downsides to the medicine sometimes don't outweigh the positives. Antipsychotics, for example, that they quite often will try to prescribe for some conditions, they just make you lethargic. You don't want to do anything. It dumbs you down. It dumbs your feelings down. You don't feel anything. You've got no motivation. You're hungry all the time. You start to put weight on, and that's really annoying. When you wake up in the morning and you're hungry, then an hour later you have to stop off to get a sandwich, and then 2 hours later you have to stop off at McDonald's just because you're starving all the time. That's how it affected me, and that medicine was not good when it came to helping me. I found that one of the best cures, or not the best cure, but the best ways I was helped, or I've managed to alleviate certain parts of these disorders, by changing my lifestyle and changing my life. Making sure that I'm surrounded by people who care, genuinely love me and understand me. And sometimes that's hard. You have to express the struggles that you have, and people generally are quite understanding, and it's only recently I've started to probably do that. I've gone through lists of my friends, and I've realised by analysing them that some friends, for some reason, appear to deliberately try to trigger certain things. And if they're not doing it deliberately, then it's just their personality or their persona that is triggering things in me. And that's not their fault. Well, it might be their fault, but I'm not going to blame those people. What I've just decided is that being around those people doesn't improve my mental health. It does the opposite. So I've had to look through and be a bit clinical, really, and realise that if people aren't a positive influence in my life, then they're probably not necessarily the best people to have in my life anymore. Of course, you don't want to be mollycoddled. You don't want to be, sort of snowflake term or whatever they use. You have to live in the real world. But there are people in your life, and you probably know of them, who are not to be polite and sensitive. They're not encouraging your growth, and they're just not understanding. And I think that it's very important to have people around you who do understand you, accept you for who you are, and bring out the best in you, and don't judge you. You can do that when you're at school. You're just jammed into a school. But I think, fortunately, nowadays, these things are better understood by everybody: teachers, parents, other kids. When I was a kid, this stuff wasn't really spoken about, and it would have come more under being possibly mentally disabled. So you kind of didn't really want to draw attention to it. But now there's a lot of understanding, a lot of compassion, a lot of caring. There's a lot of forums, there's a lot of people, there's doctors and lots of people out there who are willing to help and also understand. And that's one of the most important things to reducing the fear, the pressure, the stress, the overwhelming feeling of not being able to cope, is realising that the people around you do understand, do care, and that lets you feel that you aren't so different and that you are accepted, and therefore, ipso facto, you can cope better. So I hope that helps. I'm trying to be more precise, but with these videos with people I'm doing. But I really just want to be raw and honest and say what's inside. And I might not come across accurately when I'm speaking it out and stutter and go off at a tangent. But I'm trying to be very give it from the heart sort of thing. So again, thank you for watching, and I hope some of it helps.